Revelations 16:12. Then the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up, so that the way of the kings from the east might be prepared. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs coming out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of demons, performing signs, which go out to the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. Behold, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And they gathered them together to the place called in Hebrew Armageddon. Well, you guys, the Euphrates is drying up right before our eyes. So Reuters did an article about the Euphrates drying up, and I'm going to read it to you right now. Abbas Elwan drilled well after well in a desperate bid to find water for his family's parched farmlands in southern Iraq. After yet another attempt failed in August, he took a gun from the kitchen of their mud house and slipped into the night. Hikma Metab found her husband's body the next day with a wound to the head in a dried up irrigation canal near the barren land that once produced enough wheat and barley to sustain the extended Elwan family. That was his last hope, and there was no water, Abba's brother Ali, 56, told Reuters, standing in the scorching heat by a plot of land with dead plants poking out of the baked soil. As world leaders met in Egypt for a climate summit to address issues including water and food security, Elwan's plight highlights a crisis facing Iraq and other Middle Eastern countries that could fuel more turmoil in the region as communities fight over dwindling water resources. Reuters spoke to more than 24 people in 5 provinces across Iraq who all said that a prolonged drought, which has only worsened in recent years, was crippling livelihoods. Farmers in neighboring Syria and Turkey are also struggling with lower rainfall. Climate change is a reality in Iraq, the United Nations mission in Iraq said, adding that the country was the world's 5th most vulnerable to the fallout from global warming due to rising temperatures, lower rainfall, salinity, and dust storms. You guys, it isn't only happening in Iraq. It is happening all over the world, including the United States. So ABC did a story back in October about all of the bodies of water that are drying up across North America due to climate change. The experts are all saying bodies of water all over North America are drying up as a result of drought and a decrease in precipitation, experts told ABC News. Earlier this year, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration predicted that the 22-year mega drought affecting the West would not only intensify, but also move eastward. That prediction appears to be coming into fruition, with about 82% of the continental U.S. currently showing conditions between abnormally dry and exceptional drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. And while the U.S. and North America continue to witness water levels dropping in crucial rivers, lakes, and reservoirs, a mixture of climate change and poor water management policies are causing similar events all over the world, experts told ABC News. Rivers all over the world are running really low, especially the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers in Iraq, as well as significant bodies of water in countries like Italy, Romania, France, and China, Jonathan Deason, professor of the Environmental and Energy Management Program at George Washington University. The experts said that a two-pronged approach that includes climate change mitigation and better water management policies will be crucial as bodies of water continue to dry up. But so much damage has already been done that even drastic improvements or reductions in emissions will not immediately impact reducing the stress on water levels, they said. You can find in all of these drying up rivers, people have been finding shipwrecks. Human remains have been found, you guys, in a few dried up rivers in the U.S. Decreasing water levels along the Mississippi, one of the most important trade routes in the country, have been causing ripple effects worldwide. Earlier this month, that was in October, barges with shipping containers began idling along the sandbars of the river that previously contained ample water. Waters along the Mississippi have receded so much that a ferry that likely sunk in the late 1800s or early 1900s was discovered near Baton Rouge earlier this month, and possible human remains were located by a resident in Coahoma County, Missouri on Saturday. So the river, the Mississippi, is drying up from top to bottom, you guys, from all the way in Missouri to the mouth of the Mississippi near Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And that is scary. The Mississippi really is one of the major waterways in the United States and around the world. So many goods are shipped down the Mississippi, okay? Like, if that dries up, we're a creek without a paddle. And it is drying up. I hate to tell you guys, it is. The Mississippi River at Memphis, Tennessee, hit its lowest level in recorded history on Monday, with several other gauges at risk to break records as well. Supply chain delays for goods like grains, cement, and fuel, which travel through New Orleans to the Gulf of Mexico, could be a consequence of a dried up Mississippi, experts say. What happens is commercial vessels have trouble, have obstacles popping up, Deason said. Waters used to be so deep it didn't make a difference for navigation. Ripple effects will include inflation and the prices of food and goods increasing. Now, this article came out in October. The water levels will likely get worse and recede even more before they begin to rise again, Jonathan Remo, an associate professor at Southern Illinois University's School of Earth Systems and Sustainability, told the ABC News last week. The Great Salt Lake, the largest saltwater lake in the world and largest terminal lake in the Western Hemisphere, is continuing to lose its volume at alarming rates. This is another lake, you guys, the Great Salt Lake. By 2017, the lake had lost half of its water since the first settler arrived in 1847, according to a study published in Nature Geoscience. It is now 1/3 of its original capacity and has reached unsustainable levels, researchers told PBS. The loss of water in the lake, which is now at its lowest levels ever, is already causing a dangerous ecological ripple effect throughout Utah, and it will likely get worse, scientists told ABC News in July. More than 800 square miles of river have been exposed as a result of the dry up. You guys, this is very serious. Most of us don't sit around thinking of all of these lakes and rivers that are drying up, but where do we get our water from? Yes, there is groundwater, and lots of water goes to like California, Colorado, and surrounding states from the Colorado River. That's drying up. They've been pumping so much water, groundwater in California, that there are whole towns where the ground is sinking and foundations of homes are cracking because they are drying it up so much. They're pumping water from these places to the crops to feed all of us. And now these places, I think one of them was the San Juan Valley. They're having to get water trucked in every week for these people who live there to be able to survive. We're up the creek already, you guys, and it's not going to get better. I was looking at there was a video of all of the groundwater available around the world, and it's drying up, you guys. It really is. Tens of thousands of dead salmon wash up in Canada. You guys heard that? Tens of thousands dead salmon wash up in Canada. Researchers in British Columbia happened upon a disturbing sight when monitoring salmon populations in the Neches River in the Heiltsuk territory amid the spawning season earlier this month. That was in October. Once the scientists got there, they discovered about 65,000 dead pink salmon on the banks of the dried up creek instead. The smell was so bad that it was burning the researchers' noses and eyes, forcing them to cover their faces. Alison Dennert, an ecologist at the Simon Fraser University in Burnaby, British Columbia, told the BBC. It was the worst mass mortality of salmon, pre-spawn salmon, that I've ever seen, Dennert said. So there are things like this going on, you guys, all over the world. And many people are not paying attention to it. This article is so long. It goes on and on and on to talk about the impacts all over the world. But you guys, the drying up of the Euphrates was prophesied in the Bible. It's supposed to trigger the end times, and the Euphrates is drying up. And another thing, why do you think they're trying to get us to start eating things like crickets? Why do you think they're growing meat in labs now? Because they know we won't have enough water to keep these animals going, to feed ourselves. And they're trying to get us used to eating all of this alternative stuff. It's a scary time in the world. If you are not thinking about this, you really should. I know that I'm going to try to get myself together from my family and store as much food, because we have some hard times coming, you guys. We really do. Inflation is out of control right now. Try to get yourselves, I have said this so many times, try to get yourselves at least 6 months of non-perishable food items and water for your family. Just use whatever extra you have to start stocking up. And if you have an elderly person in your family, please help them out. They are already suffering so much. All right, you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Let me know what you think about these rivers drying up. Do you depend on something like the Colorado? And how are you coping with all of this happening right now? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments.